All right, we're in. Hello, and welcome back to another Unsourced. Well, I'm back again with my two great co-hosts here, Tony and Doug. We're taking a look at the new era of VHS that we found ourselves in. And I had no idea this was so recent. I thought '94 came out like 10 years ago, but it's 2021, only 4 years ago. They've been just pumping these out, haven't they? We're in the Shutter era, okay,
Yeah.
with the reboot, soft reboot, relaunch, what have you. So I thought we'd just kind of go first off, go to our quick little sound bites about the one as a whole, and then we'll go into each individual story. How about you, Tony? What'd you think about '94 and this entering the Shutter era?
Yeah, I think that that's a great place to start with this, right? Like, this is a new wave in VHS movies, and it's been 7 years since Viral, right? And you can tell that the people over at the VHS factory, they were thinking to themselves, "We got the synthesis way off on that one." They tried to stretch out in so many different ways, and what this entry does is it brings it back to a level of basics, and then also kind of shifts the tone a little bit. Where the first two movies were trying really hard to be these like out and about like horror experiences. We often called them fun houses. This time it feels like most of the shorts are almost like horror comedy, and there's more brevity to every segment. That being said, it doesn't sacrifice the gore and the guts and all of that. When it comes to my thoughts on the film itself, how I like it, I think it's like a knock out of the park. Like it's not since VHS 2 have all of the segments been so consistently good. Would I say that they are, the best segments in the franchise? No, I wouldn't say that. But I would say that there are segments in this that really stick out in my mind when I think back on the VHS franchise. Not to spoil my thoughts too early, but like Rotman, come on, he's the Mon. Like I want to see more of him all the time, right?
I want to see more of him too, especially in that segment. Okay.
but but that's pretty much my thoughts. Like I think this is a really, really entertaining entry with some stellar highlights, and then the low lights kind of roll over easy for me.
How about you, Doug? What do you think?
Yeah, just briefly, since I wasn't here last week, just as a point of reference, like I wasn't here for the viral discussion, but like watching those movies with like while having an actual fever, like I felt like I was hallucinating the movie. Like I was like, how is
In
it
a good way?
that no, I was like, how is it
How
this
dare you?
bad?
Oh my God! I guess I'm odd man now. I thought Viral was amazing. I thought
I
I
and I
loved all
like
of those segments.
I like the filmmakers, except for the guy who did Siren, who should be in jail. But the other filmmakers of those segments are like very creative, talented filmmakers,
And
and
those are
even
creative, talented segments.
well, there's ideas there, but the execution, man, it I don't know. Like maybe I need to rewatch it when I'm not sick, and I would come at it more generously. But I didn't enjoy the viral, so this felt like a kind of return to form, at least to like closer to like what I enjoyed about VHS 2. Like even if all of these to an extent are like a hit or miss, but like Tony said, the misses kind of just roll off, and there's some interesting reconfiguring, like now that we're in the Shutter era, like Tony alluded to, the tone. I think there's pluses and minuses to that, because it's like if you are gonna embrace like a kind of goofier uh like tone and aesthetic, that can't I prefer that, at least to like the first one, where it's just like trying too hard to be nasty. And so like this goes down smoother, but it can make the horror feel more slight in terms of like I feeling like genuine terror in a lot of these segments? No, but there are some fun, creatively executed bits here. And I've always said that like found footage horror like kind of has like a video gamey feel, and I feel like they're like fully embracing that in the down to like how the characters are delivering dialogue like feels like video game exposition. And I don't know, like that just worked for me in this, for even the ones that like weren't my favorite.
Well, just like with Viral, I'm on the man out here because I thought this one, 94, was probably the worst individual movie of the entire franchise so far. I was bored, I was annoyed, and I felt cheated. Out of almost every segment, I felt cheated. Of an entertaining experience, a spooky experience, a humorous experience. None of it landed for me. And none of all, if I could, if there weren't worse ones we had seen already, I would say each of these segments would be my bottom segment so far. But there are worse ones.
Wow.
I just don't like any of them. Any of them. I don't like any of them. There's one I will give some credence to, and you guys know my taste, probably know which one it is. But no, I just didn't like this one. This one sucks.
I think I
Okay.
have my theory for which one you like, but I'm going to keep it a secret until we get there.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah. I'm curious.
All right. So well, let's just unless Doug wants to get more into what thoughts on Viral, and we can always say that to the end of this whole experience when we do our rankings. What do you say, Doug?
Yeah, we let's just get into 94 because I wanna talk about these,
Uh,
like even the ones that didn't work. I think there's some stuff to discuss here.
Talking about ones that didn't work, let's talk about the framing device. So, you'll
Baba
go,
Booey.
Tony. You're on the clockwise rotation here. This is Holy Hell, written and directed by Jennifer Reeder. What's this about?
Yeah, well, I'll lay my cards on the table. I think this is the weakest segment of the bunch. And, this is a return to basics that we saw with the first two movies, where it's just, people watching tapes and we see the reactions of them to the tapes, right? Like it's not really reinventing the wheel in that sense, but when you compare that to VHS Viral, where it's like we're going bouncing around all these stories and then suddenly we're in a short, it does feel a bit more cohesive. When it comes to the plot of it itself, though, we're following the police after they've received this tape of like a snuff film, and they've decided they're going to go into this den because they think that this is either going to be like a gang hideout or some kind of like drug kingpin lair. But then when they arrive, it turns out that there is this like giant warehouse filled with these like family room settings where there are VHS tapes playing on old CRTVs, and each of the different segments play on each of these different TVs within each of the different rooms. And as it goes along, it turns out that one of the people who was a part of the police coming in on this raid was in on it the whole time and was just there to get more victims for this. The victims being the police that we've been watching through all of this. It's like it's a twist you can see coming from a mile away. There are lines of dialogue that happen up front and you're like, oh, okay, I know where this is gonna go. But it's not offensive like the first two were when it came to like
I
weird.
would say the very wrapping it up when we cut back to it felt offensive. That I was like, why did we stretch this out over a movie? I mean, I guess that you could say that for all the wraparound ones, but
Oh yeah.
the
You know what? But
the
it's
way that
crazy.
they're like the cops are they're like this was our plan, and I was like, this is
It's
like
it's so Saturday morning cartoon.
yeah.
It's the kind of wraparound I thought Viral would have because Viral was a very goofy movie, but the wraparound in Viral I thought was really strong and doing really kind of great mood, really weird, freaky visuals in my opinion. And this is like, what are we even doing? Like, it feels like Scream. That bad part of Scream I love to talk about, where they're talking about Ricky Lake. I saw it on Ricky Lake. It felt like that, gag me with spoon style dialogue from these cops killers. Crazy,
I,
crazy stuff.
I want to make it clear when I said offensive, I meant like literally offensive. But
Oh,
when you guys are talking about like
I,
offensive to the eyes and ears, I agree in that sense. Like
You just mean there's no rapey overtones
yeah,
like in the first one. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure. Yeah, I'll
yeah.
give it that.
And it's a low bar, but it does cross that, right? And
yeah.
I don't really have much positive to say about this beyond like the way that the scenes are lit is kind of cool. You got some like basic gel lighting, and that's fine.
Yeah, the set
And
looks decent. It would
yeah,
Yeah.
have been cool if they used it for something.
exactly, right?
So,
Like it's
so
a lot of
are
wasted
we?
potential.
So are we to like believe that they're the ones that kicked all this off?
Like in the whole series,
Yeah.
I think
It
that's a
does
fair
it
question to
it
ask.
does
Yeah.
feel like they are trying to do overall lore of like, yeah, they're behind all the tapes, like
and like
or
and
something.
like or like they kickstarted it, and like that's really lame that these dork nerd cops did that. and there's cheesy ass dialogue.
Yeah, it's scary if there is no known real source for them. I think it's better to stay in the murkier, more Lovecraftian vibe of the tapes, where it's like, who knows where these came from? Like these are just like cursed objects.
Mhm.
And it's like we did it so we can get all these violent acts on tape because of world's hypocrisy or something. Like, what are we talking about here, man?
Yeah, they have like political motives, maybe. I don't know. It's not worth parsing that. I don't think.
One thing I don't like about just all of the framing devices we've had with the first, I guess, like the first two in this one, is like we're supposed to believe that like these tapes have some kind of like magnetic, like mind-numbing ability in the first two movies, and then this one it's like you literally just fucking die when you watch a tape, right? And I'm like, what are we watching right now that would actually inspire that reaction, right? Like I would believe it more.
Hey, with fair, that guy did pull his eyes out, and I felt like doing that.
Like
I can't watch this. I can't watch this shit.
That's what it is. They're just like, it's so amateur. The filmmaking just, I can't believe it. That's what it is.
Those cops were fans of Viral. They were like, "How this is a dip in quality."
Why can't I watch this on my fucking telephone?
I will be vindicated in like 20 years. Okay, people are like, "Boy, Viral, that's underrated one."
There's going to be like revival screenings of it, right? Like all of the old movie houses are going to play VHS Viral to sold out crowds at midnight.
Amen.
Yeah, Music Box midnight showing.
Dante the Great T-shirts, ironic.
Stop giving Greg Bishop praise.
There's probably some out there. Dante the Great T-shirt.
Oh, I'm sure it's out there.
Etsy or something.
No, they're all Dante Alighieri or some shit. Oh well, maybe in the future.
Maybe we'll make them.
Yeah.
All right.
Show merch.
So you were saying, Tony, about the segment.
Like I don't have much many complicated thoughts. Like it's just serviceable. That's been like the note I've been hitting on all of these, right? And Viral was the one that really tried to be more than serviceable, and it just was like really annoying and uneven to me, right? And also again rapey at points. But when it comes to like the way that this one is, right, it's just straightforward. We're going to get into the shorts. I like that about it, but not much else.
Yeah, it doesn't waste too much time. I'll give it that.
It's in 4 chunks, so I think it wastes a lot of time. There's 4 chunks to it. Okay, Viral at least was 3 chunks.
Well, that's what I mean by the ending making me mad, because it's like if you are gonna stretch this out, there at least should be like a punchline or something, like something.
They got naked-ish, huh? They started stripping, right? A little bit. There was that imagination.
Yeah, they were stripping, but then putting on one of them, like the white outfit, I guess, is like their uniform, so that's what she was getting into. Like it did. I mean, you could smooth over a lot if you end on a good song. So like when they started playing like Kill Cops, I was like, okay, well that's fine. You play that song, but the moment it doesn't match up with the energy of what the like actual segment ended on.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't really have any commentary is the problem, right? Like it's kind of gesturing at the idea of trying to be like, we have something to say, but they don't have enough
if
time
it actually was anti-cop or something like that would be something.
Yeah, and it's like trying to be kind of, right? And I think that like the fact that all of the people who are doing this are women who are doing this to men, right? There's something there, right? But I just don't think that it's been fully cooked through.
Right, like it's leaving you to put all that together. It's not like giving you much there. It's like, oh, it's just like not even gesturing. It's kind of just like
and that's the theme of the movie.
Hey now,
not giving you much. Okay, that's the theme of this one, I think. But any other thoughts? I had no thoughts about Holy Hell other than, God, it should have just been like 5 minutes long, man.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but at the same time, I think it's just fine,
Okay, so let's move ahead. Doug, it's up. Yeah, you're up on bat with the first official segment, Storm Drain, written and directed by Chloe Okuno.
Yeah, this Chloe Okuno, I shout out. She directed Watcher, the 2022 movie, which is very solid. It has Micah Monroe and the always chilling Bern Gorman. Shout out watcher. But anyway, in this segment, Storm Drain, we have a reporter played by the reporter from the Expanse show. Anna Hopkins I'm blanking on the name of that character in the Expanse, but she was also a reporter in that. So that was like I was like, where do I know her from? And yeah, it's the Expanse. So she's a reporter doing a segment on. They keep talking about this urban legend, the Rat Man, and you get some like funny like man on the street interviews, and then most of the segment we're with the reporter Holly and her cameraman as they're trying to get the scoop. You get the sense that she doesn't kind of feels like this is still like kind of silly, like her time's better used for something else. And when they're going deeper into the sewers, initially like her kind of drive is like, oh well, if we do a story on like homelessness and like what it's like to actually like live in this condition, like that's actually important. And I it gestures at without really sort of like, oh well, how much of that is like noble intentions or is it just ego driven? Like her cameraman makes the joke about like, yeah, so you can get the Pulitzer or something, where there's no follow-up on like that concept or like what actually like drives her in that way. But I mean, they're just getting the ball rolling with these shorts. I feel like that's enough for me to like kind of gesture at in broad strokes what these characters are, and then as they get deeper into the sewer, uh, weird shit starts happening. Well, it's kind of like they see some homeless people, and then you realize that this is like part of a larger cult that worships this entity, Ratam, or how do you say like the actual things?
Ratma.
Ratma, Hail Ratma. Yeah, and the look of the creature, I feel like kind of lets you know if you hadn't picked up from like the intro of like, okay, the tone and the makeup effects were going for like it's embrace because they're doing like these are all set in the 90s, so these are supposed to like with that era's cameras, so I feel like leaning into like a kind of lower fi like creature effects, like it works for me. Like I don't know how you guys feel about the actual look of Ratma. Like if it's like too goofy, I think it works. I don't think it's like am I scared? No. I mean, there is a jump scare during this, but there's a couple jump scares that got me just because that's
it's not
that's a jump
goofy
scare.
enough for me. The design. My only real thought about this segment, because the segment for me is a whole load of nothing until we actually see Ratma, and then it ends. So like, I'm not really I have nothing else to say about this segment because it's just a non-entity for me. I know everyone loves this one. I just think it's boring. It's boring. It's fluff. There's nothing to it. But the design is one thing I've always had an issue with ever since I first saw this one. I've always had an issue with the design because I thought it was cool. When I first saw the design, like in screenshots and stuff, I thought, oh, like, it's a cool design because the eyes are actually like the nose to this giant creature's face. Then I actually saw the movie, like, oh, those are his eyes. So that design element looks worse to me. I think it's actually really cool if you thought like this one's like maybe a regular human face, but it turns out that's the nose of like this giant kind of like rat creature head, But it's not. It's like, that's boring. It's even more boring than I thought it was. No good elements.
I like the design. I don't know. It works for like. Could we get more of it? I think less is kind of more. I don't know. Because it's the whole thing of like, oh, the preacher they interviewed earlier, that I maybe could have. Like I don't need these segments, because they're limited in time to like connect all these dots. It felt out of place with the vibe of this like cult of like sewer dwelling homeless people, that then we get that like that preacher that had like doomsday vibes like earlier, but like he just feels kind of disconnected, and he's like apparently like at least the lead human of this thing, I felt like they maybe should have just kept it all people who lived in the sewer. I don't know, the preacher of it all. Maybe like they could have just had a preacher living in the sewer, you know, that was like fits the rest of their aesthetic. That he likes he, I the punchline of the end of like the reporter now being like whatever if she's like some like prophet of Ratma, like I feel like she needs to be the first one who's like clean cut, who like is representing this thing, and because the idea, I kind of like more the implication that it's less an organized religion and it's more just there's some kind of magnetic pull to this thing that these people who may have already been living out on the streets, kind of like, you know, in some like other horror stories. I'm thinking of like the Alice Cooper led homeless army in Prince of Darkness, where they're just like they doesn't seem like they have meetings where they set up and plan world domination. It's just they're just being pulled there by this evil. So I would kind of prefer that for the sewer dwellers, like having like the actual preacher there being their leader was the main thing where I was like, I don't know how I feel about that of this segment.
Well, I just wanted to jump in because I haven't said anything about this short yet, and I just thought I'll start with Ratman, right? Like Ratman, whatever we're calling him, right? I think that he has the appropriate amount of nipples, and I think that that's what makes him both scary and terrifying. You know, like, and also the combination of like human skin and rat features, right? It is so goofy, right? It is so silly, but it's like when somebody tells you that there's a rat man in the sewer drain, that's what he is. Like that is the rat man, you know. Like I see that and I'm like, that is an accurate description of that. So I see what he is, and I'm not so terrified by it. But I think what's actually more important about this segment is the through line with the protagonist. Like speaking a bit to like what you've been saying, Doug, about like the whole organization of all of this and like how lived in it feels, right? I kind of hand wave that stuff more away because of how the story kind of relates to the protagonist of it. Because like she's clearly trying to like level up. She's trying to like, you know, make a name for herself a bit, right? In all regards. She's working on a news station, and she even has these like illusions of grandeur of thinking that this rat man story is going to get her any kind of attention, right? But like in reality, it's something that's meant to fill time on the evening news, right? So she's really trying to milk this. She's trying to turn this into like some kind of sentimental homeless person story. And I like that she's searching so desperately for meaning that she finds that meaning in Ratma. And she by the end of it, like she actually does succeed. Like she gets like possessed or whatever, and then she's a co-anchor on the news anchor show, right?
Yeah.
Like clearly her following Ratma gave her the thing that she wanted out of life, right? And there's something to get to the heart of matters, right? Two things actually. One, this is the first segment that's directed by like a woman, right? And I feel like there is a different perspective here. It doesn't feel as cruel in a lot of the other segments that we've gotten so far, where it feels like there's like a giant trick that's being played on all the characters. Instead, it's like the character is complicit in what's happening, and then also tying that into like what her character is, this protagonist. You know, like she is trying so hard to be considered legitimate, and in the end, this cult of Ratma allows her to be legitimate. So, and also, and another point, just before I pass it off, is I feel like this is like a great comedic segment. Like all of the cuts when they're in the town, and you're getting all these like awkward pauses of like the people talking, and then they say something ridiculous, and it just lingers there. They're like all of the.
I like the guy with the gun.
Well. Yeah. Like wait, like he points at the storm drain with the gun, and then he turns back around and he's just silent and scratches his nose. Like all of those beats work really well for me. Like she tries to talk to the homeless person spills out bile, and then she leaves her business card. Like there's so many
like yeah, before running she leaves the card. Like I think that's very telling of her character. And yeah, the ending punchline, I agree. It's like a good payoff to like, okay, well, she's a fame chaser, and now this is she's a prophet of, I don't know, some kind of rat deity.
Hey, don't knock the work where you can get it, right? Like she found her calling.
Yeah, go work if you can get it.
What do we think about the slap chop?
The
Oh, the
slap.
fake ad? Yeah, no, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's funny.
The one thing is like this movie is really good at the 90s aesthetic. I find like we've complained on previous eps about how like VHS, but these are mostly digital shorts, right? This movie actually coheres to that VHS brand really well. But the one nitpick I have is that
there's one segment that doesn't feel like 90s at all, but we'll get to it. But the yeah, what were you saying about the slap chop?
Well, the slap chop was in the 2000s, you know? It's not a 90s device, right? So that's where I was like, that this is a bit too modern for me, and that did take me out too much, even though it was a good bridge in terms of like, here is the thing, right? You almost expect the short to be over when Rotman like encounters the protagonist, right? You get the slap chop thing, and you're like, oh, the segment's probably done by now. And the fact that we go back to the news station, I think, is a good subversion of what we've seen so far in the VHS series.
Yeah, I mean, it would have. I like that's our ending punchline. It could have been cool to see it keep going. Of like, okay, is this like just the end of the world now that Ratma, like she's heralding the coming of Ratma, and is just it's just gonna like chaos break loose, and we could like get glimpses of that. I mean, whatever. We have other segments to get to. Did the male anchor? Did he distractingly look? He kind of has like a Bruce Campbell chin, and the actor's name is Campbell, but they're not related.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I see Bruce Campbell everywhere. Maybe that's just I have a condition where it's Bruce Campbell. No, it's not him.
You know, I like that's not an unfair thing to do. I feel like Bruce Campbell is a very, he comes up in your mind and you spend an afternoon thinking about him. I was playing Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 the other day, and I just had a thought to myself. I was just like, if Sam Raimi made Spider-Man movie in the 90s, it would have been Bruce Campbell as Peter Parker.
Oh wow! Well, you would have. That would have been something like.
Amazing! Imagine how amazing that movie would have been if Bruce Campbell was Peter Parker. This is so off topic, but still.
I'm just trying to picture him with glasses being picked on.
Like, I don't know. I feel like he would have gone for like a more kind of like Bronze Age, kind of like prickish Parker.
I feel like he would have been like the same character he was in Hoodsucker Proxy.
Yeah, that kind of like more brash, more bold.
Yeah,
I would have liked it. That would have been a good version of it for me.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see that. A lot more interesting than talking about that rat man. I know. I just had nothing to say. Like everything, I hear you guys say it. I'm like, they must have watched a different one than I did. That's all I can think of. Like it's like an impenetrable wall, for me for that one. I just don't get it. I mean, it was too cerebral for me. I think.
I don't think it's so cerebral. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, most of these are pretty surface. Like, I don't think they go that deep.
But yeah, any other thoughts about the sewer drain?
Hail Ratma.
I don't want to sound like I don't want to be too contradictory, but I would say that this is probably one of my favorite segments that we've watched so far. Like I really like this one, and I think it may like shake out like close to the top when we do our final rankings at the end of the series. But if you didn't take anything away from it, I get that as well. I don't think that it's like some immaculate short. It's no safe haven.
It just felt reassuring. That I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of the zone we're in, because I don't know. It just my faith was shaken after Viral, so I needed some reassurance.
We're like on the alternate universe, like we're in mirror universe of each other, me and Doug here, because I'm like, now my faith is shaken. Whoa, Viral was like, this is the best one so far, and then it's like, this is not. The Viral and this should be opposite reactions from people. Like people are saying, is it return to form? Like really? Because this is like, how does it return? I'll never understand how this is a return to form, and when almost all the other ones have like one great standout segment at least.
like I don't want to like challenge or anything. Like just to say like what I see in it, right? Like I just like with the other ones in viral, it felt like they were trying things, sure, but they weren't like consistent. Like they weren't like it felt like it had all these ideas, but it never really was able to channel them in the right energy, except for the nacho segment. I felt that that one was a really stellar one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Like even though there were some like problems I had with the metaphor, I still really liked what it did.
Mhm.
And the thing for me though is like with 94, it feels like Doug, you've been saying, like it feels like it's more stable ground. I feel like even when the idea doesn't fully deliver on the promises, it doesn't feel like the dam is about to break. It doesn't feel like the wheels are about to fly off the train, right?
But the
And I
thing,
do like a good mess, but I do also like the fact that this is a bit more cozy in that sense of like the thing is never going to be as bad or as crazy as it was before.
hmm. I love to see that. These are, I would say, yeah, they are a lot more light, but I just know I don't think any of them like are like offensive, but they're just so boring. I guess I was so bored watching it. I really was just bored on my mind.
Well, we've got the next segment, right? Like,
Yeah.
tell us about the next segment. How boring that was too.
Actually, this one's the best one in the entire movie. Okay.
Oh, I was wrong. I
Yeah.
was wrong. Go
Oh
ahead.
wait, no, you were wrong. How? Come on, this one's great. This one, okay. This is The Empty Wake, written and directed by Simon Barrett. And so, like, I didn't know that until I looked up the Wikipedia right now. I don't watch the credits for these things. Um, but this one, I love this one. I would have loved it, I should say, if it had a second half to it. And just kind of, but I love how it sets up. I love how it begins. I love the whole premise, the mood of it. I mentioned before we started recording, it felt like a campfire story, like it
Mhm.
kind of feels like a zombie kind of riff of like the hook at the car door, like where he's like, is something going on, is something going on, or is that really a noise you're hearing, what's going on. I love that. Obviously it becomes more explicit as it goes along. It's about this woman who is um hosting a wake overnight, with a coffin that seems to be making really, really odd noises. And there was a weird request from the family of having a camera pointed at the coffin overnight. And it turns out there's zombies involved and stuff. And I love it. I just love the mood of it. I just thought, like, I was really into it. It kind of just ends still. Like, I really don't like that. I think there's only one segment in here that actually feels like a complete story. And it's not this one, even though it's my favorite one of the movies, of this film. I just loved all of it. I thought it was really fun in terms of like just how it kind of began.
So there is at least one in each one that you like.
Yeah,
Aha!
yeah.
We
I,
got
I,
you.
I didn't say it stand out. It's what I said. I'm saying if it had, I would have loved it if it had a second half, like a real
Ladies
ending.
and gentlemen, we got him.
But no, this one I thought had the most potential, had the most promise, from the outset.
It's the most atmospheric because I felt the most on edge and actually close to being. Like I said, there's jump scares in other ones, but like in terms of like the actual like the kind of dread and horror that I like, of like where you're like that this isn't going, you like it was once you start seeing the shifts in the coffin or the power going, like each of these beats are like, yes, they're the things you would expect to happen, but that just raises the anticipation. You're like, oh god, now like each step of, I would say, like that, like you could say, yeah, it is kind of predictable, but that predictability is almost a plus because it like is, you're like going down this preordained path. The character doesn't know it, but you know that it's like, well, god, okay, I guess she's just gonna keep going now. And the going along with, like I said, that this one feels very video gamey. I got like just like her going to like get the candles and stuff, like all moments like that, or like where she has to do problem solving of like turning using the remote on one of the cameras to like distract the zombie. I was like, oh yeah, this is like kind of fun game like moments. I would say the ending, like kind of just being an ellipses of like an incomplete thought, is almost makes it more of a campfire story thing, because like sometimes those stories or end on this thing of like, and then they were never seen again, of like some weird thing happened, and it's like, and then who knows, it could happen to you, because it's like kind of she seems like she's in like a trance. I'm like, I kind of like how the murkiness of like what even has occurred, because she's not killed, but it's like, did he like possess her now or something, or like is this like some kind of chain thing that has started, or you're not really sure. She just like walks out, and the uncertainty of that is almost like more eerie for me.
I just wanted to lay my cards on the table. I thought that Elvis would have liked the next one more. I thought that was going to be the one that you were a big fan of, but
I like elements of that one, but it just doesn't come together for me. This one, I thought this one has so much potential off the offset, as I mentioned. Like, I think it's on all cylinders. The ending is murky, and I wish I had a stronger ending. But like, I just love being in it. Like the way it begins, it just feels so constricting, and it feels so locked room kind of vibe. I loved it. I loved the vibe of it.
I was more surprised than anything. I was just laying my cards on the table in the sense that was the one I was betting on. But I wanted to talk about how this is Simon Barrett returning, for the third time, right? And something that we said on the first VHS episode was that how this is a franchise of like young filmmakers kind of grinding their teeth. And what I really like about Barrett coming back for this third time is that you really see the evolution of him as a filmmaker and as a writer. Like this story is really well structured, even if there is that kind of third act problem that Elvis you were alluding to. I do feel like this kind of peters out when it's getting good, but also I feel like this is like a great inversion of the creep show segment where there's like the creature that's in the museum. But I would almost like say it's like that short, but through the prism of Tales from the Dark Side. Like it's just a little grittier, it's a little more nasty, and the terror, the sustained like spooks throughout all of the short just really bring you along in a nice way. And Doug, you were saying how this feels like a video game, and I brought up this series on the Weapons podcast we recorded, and I'm going to bring it up again. This feels like Clock Tower. This feels like a point and click like horror franchise, And I say that because like our protagonist is moving through this world really slowly, and the frame is so static for large chunks of the short, but it's never boring. And you totally understand her perspective. You understand the perspectives of the people who are not there, who are like, oh, what's this person freaking out about? She's just at a funeral home. The twist of like having the one person show up and they're the only person who is there for the funeral. It really does a great job in just pulling the suspense as long as it possibly can. And it really does kind of fall apart once there has to be that answer by the end. And I agree with you, Doug, that like I like that the question is out there where it's like she's going to go out there and she's probably going to infect somebody else, right? But then also like I just wish it went a bit further, right? And maybe that's my own selfishness, regardless. I think that the way that the short is constructed and how it's delivered, it's all in the presentation, and the presentation is phenomenal. It's another really strong segment, and following this up after the first one, like I'm left on a high,
Yeah, it's a fun little ghost story. I mean, and I agree. They could do more. I would say, like most of these, you could add more to it. But if anything, that's just a testament to like, oh, well, they have something there, and it's kind of teasing you with more. Those are like the kind of ones where you would want there to be some kind of further adaptation of, rather than some of the ones that they had. Well, I did like Kids versus Aliens, but in terms of the other ones that got turned into, like Siren, for example, is like that's the worst case scenario of like trying to stretch these out.
Yeah, no, I feel like I would watch Mirama segment as a movie, because it reminds me a lot of Frogman, which I'm not going to say more about because I know I guess I was hoping you wouldn't say that. I was trying to move past it because I saw your letterbox rating of
Oh,
it,
sorry.
and you see my letterbox rating of it is much, much, much different than yours. But I know I feel like that would be like a better version of that if it would be into a full segment, because I feel like there's a lot more to bite into, at least in terms of like what it was kind of alluding to, in terms of social kind of hypocrisy. And this as well. I would watch an entire film version of this, but you mentioned that does feel a lot like the Creep Show segment. That's a great pull there. And it kind of does, like that whole kind of like you back and forth. Is something happening? And she's out of the room, in the room. Like, like what exactly are you imagining? That's great for suspense. I think in the time that it has, it does hit that in the head. So that was really good. Any other thoughts on this one?
I just wanted to say the dialogue was great. Like
Yeah, very
Simon Barrett,
naturalistic.
very naturalistic, and Simon Barrett specifically. Like we've talked about Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett as this duo, right? And I really do believe that Simon Barrett is a fantastic writer, and when he is in control, or seemingly more so, of the collaborations between him and Adam Wingard, it really does. You feel him shine through, and this segment right here, it's like he doesn't really need Adam Wingard. He could make his own thing himself. I haven't seen his film Seance, but I believe that it's at least good. Because it seems like he's got the fundamentals in him. So like when I watch the segment, I'm just like, I'm happy to see Simon Barrett come into his own. That's my big takeaway from this.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. I mean, I feel like it shows a lot more of human touches. I think that of the things we've seen them do so far, I haven't seen Seance yet, but the trailer for Seance definitely does hew to this. Where Wingard is definitely kind of like the more cynical pop fusion kind of guy, and Barrett is a lot more kind of smaller, more grounded beats. So I'd be interested. I would be interested in see if that carries through.
Yeah, I haven't seen Seance either, but I'm interested to see it because this definitely you can see the progression in maturity of him as a filmmaker, but also a writer, like from the segments.
Hail Ratma.
Hail Robma.
One
Okay.
thing I would also say is I
Mhm.
feel like just bringing out the Simon Barrett of it all, right? Like I feel like you feel him a lot in A Horrible Way to Die, and then you also feel him a lot in The Guest, right? Like he does the human beats really well. Like he knows how to draw out character development in a interesting way. And the good thing about this segment is that because we're not given a lot of runtime, he finds a way to add so much characterization to it. And something that we didn't really touch on is the fact that there is that lone person who comes to the funeral, and like that they themselves are kind of like surprised the funeral is happening too. And
Where did they even go?
sorry.
Where did that guy even go?
Did he lock her in because she was surprised that there was the chain on the thing?
That's a good question. That's a very
So
good question.
It's so enigmatic. This one's such a great enigmatic segment. I love it.
yeah, it's kind. You could easily draw that inference of like this is a ritualistic thing, and he's locked her in there because that needs to happen. But we don't know. Like we don't know anything. I mean, it's just that eerie note of of when she's on the phone of like really someone came. What was she like? Is like wants to know like what was this guy's? Because like based on what we reveal about his death, it's like yeah, who would come and visit him? Who is this person?
Mm-hmm. One other thing I'll point out, because we haven't talked about this. I feel like the later on in the segment, we've got the casket piles out, right, and it's been alluded to several times that this body was in pieces, and we see that this shambling corpse doesn't have the top head of its face, so it can't see her, right? And I felt that like the beat of the face on the ground with the eye, right? We go back and forth from the body to the face too many times for my liking. Like I felt like I was way ahead of it. If I were her in that segment, you see the top head of the face with the eyeball that's kind of looking around. Move away, don't stay there, right? She could move to another part of the room and she wouldn't have been caught, right? That would be like my one negative gripe with the film, and that's a Cinema Sins ass critique.
Yeah, what is she, stupid?
Ding.
Freaking idiot.
Okay.
She
You
should have
wanna,
just stomped on the face. That's what she should have done.
we're gonna
There
get
we go.
it's some things the devils do. A movie I generally like.
Mhm.
Oh my god, so many things in that movie. Anyway, so if we're all moving ahead, a solid segment. Let's go into one where I don't know. I just feel like there could have been something more. How about you take it, Tony? It's your turn up at bat. The Subject, written by Timo Tehanto.
Yes, he's back as well. We've got two returning filmmakers, right? And like I would say out of the main segments, this may be like the weakest in quotations to me, right? But I like all of the proper segments, so I don't think that that's like a big ding against this movie, short I should say. But this is like it's like a mixture of Safe Haven and RoboCop. And I say Safe Haven because we have this like enigmatic central performance in this crazy mad scientist who is also a serial killer. He's like taking these people off of the streets and then trying to experiment on them with like android body modifications. And we're watching this short from the perspective of this young woman who has been completely transformed into half human, half cyborg, right? Or half android, depending on how you want to define it. But the crux of the short is the question of how much of their humanity is intact and how much of them is turned into this machine. And as the mad scientist is continuing to experiment, they create a more violent version of what our protagonist is. Then the cops come and the cops kill the scientist. And while we have that, relief moment where it's like the scientist is gone, it turns out that the cops don't have as much in terms of morals as well. And it slowly turns into an act of self defense. And it's a short that really plays with perspective in interesting ways. There's lots of gory effects. And I would call it Tetsuo, the Iron Woman. It's less crazy than
Yeah,
Tetsuo,
yeah.
but at the same time, I like the kinetic energy of it. I like the roots of the story. I just feel like it overplays its hand a few too many times.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with any of that. Like I keep going back to the video gaminess of this. This one straight up is a video game in terms of like there isn't much plot. It is just the action and the like the vibes of this mad scientist layer. And they're it overplays its hand in some regards, but then it also could have done more with other beats in terms of like we just see her go past some of the other creations, but we don't like do any follow up on though. Like, not that I needed full backstories for everyone there that he's kidnapped and turned into, but it's like we could at least get like some kind of bit other than like just seeing them. Like, I do like the thing of her kind of basically mercy killing and unplugging the one that she finds on the table. Like, that's actually a nice beat, which feels like more like a complete thought than the other one. She kind of just walks past or gets like scared of like okay, and then keeps going. Like, we don't I feel like despite there not being any much of a story, I do I sympathize with SA, and like when she has to start killing these cops out of self-defense, I'm like, yeah, fuck them. They're not going to do anything. I mean, and then I do like that even though there is like, yeah, the one good cop, he still gets fucked up too. So it's not like that he's like in the clear, because he could have stepped in sooner. He does the very end decides to kill his commander and then apologizes to him too, like, I'm sorry, sir.
Funniest character in the movie.
You know what? I will say that it that's what the Iron Woman as well, but also liked how it's also kind of like just an extended version of that one scene in RoboCop when they're building RoboCop. Just that whole progression, the whole BOB nature of it, waking up early and they're
Precisely.
like, "Oh my God, he's awake," that kind of stuff. I thought that was really fun how it played with that, and I just wish that it kind of parsed itself more, because it does feel like, did we need to see as much of this progress as long as it did? Because like it does feel like there's a lot more lulls. Meanwhile, something like Safe Haven, Timo's last big segment with VHS, right? That felt like it was a lot more going on in terms of like definite immersive character work, and you kind of felt yourself get immersed and invested that way. In this, you can tell they're saving things for like the back half of it, so it just feels like there's a lot like a lull or a stretch. Like I'm always saying, we don't need to see like backstory of everyone, but maybe like showing that kind of activity, her seeing those earlier, maybe like some sort of like, I don't want to pull this because this is a movie I don't like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where like there's like the rocket and his little
Mm.
other mutated, experimented on animals. So maybe something like that first, and then when she's going around, maybe she kills him, Mercy kills him, she kills one on the table, something like that. I thought we would have been maybe broken it up a bit more,
Yeah, a little more setup payoff, like of like even if
yeah.
even if it gives you you like will know that it's coming back around, or you have that in your mind. It's not like it plays much better as like, it's not like it's like a jump scare or like a crazy reveal when she find like I mean, the a good example is like they keep alluding to her face of like, oh, look at her, she's not human anymore, and then when she sees her face in the jar, like that's a good payoff, because like even though we know that moment's coming, like having her have to like face that, I thought was played well in terms of like, conveniently there's the mirror right there so she could go up to it, but like I like the way that beat is played.
That's the best sequence in the short, really. Like, obviously, I was just joking about how that guy was the best character. This is the best sequence in this short, where it's like she looks up, right, and there's the mirror, but there's a cloth over top of it, right, and she walks over to it, she pulls it down, and then she's looking in the mirror, and then we get the great audio touch, right, where she like feels the side of her head, and you feel the left side of your ear gets kind of muffled, and then goes over to the right side of the ear and she does the same thing. Like, Timo is a great filmmaker, right? I think that what the central problem of the short is that the elements and the ingredients aren't as strong as Safe Haven, and he's using the same kind of techniques that he did in Safe Haven, but the ingredients aren't as strong. And I mean that specifically from the standpoint of the mad scientist, right? The mad scientist himself is just not as good of an actor as the guy who was in Safe Haven, who was the cult leader, right? And I do really love the fact that these are like deeply Indonesian films in the sense that they're just like, here are these actors just going for broke, right? But at the same time, I just feel like the people that they have just aren't as strong as they were in Safe Haven, and it's not really the fault of the short in the sense that they do match the profiles, but it's just like, like it just doesn't reach it fully for me in
Safe
performance
Haven's
level.
like fully fleshed out in terms of
Yeah.
like it's lived in. We know the deal with even if it's like using shorthand for like cult horror stuff. Like we understand that like who these people are. The cult leader is so enigmatic, that performance, and there's just more there for him to play. Rather like yeah, I agree the performance isn't as good for the mad scientist, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because there's not much for him to play other than crazy. Like the most we kind of get that deviates from that is like when he starts to get mad at her when she resists him, and that would have been interesting to fall through more on that kind of like, I don't know, like insecurity or resentment idea, like, oh, that because before it's just the glee of like the experiment working we see, and him being manic about that, or him muttering at the news that they don't understand him. But if we like leaned into more of like the some kind of like abusive parent metaphor or something, like going back to I would agree, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is my least favorite of that trilogy, but that and it does have that framework of like, James Gunn loves his bad dad stuff, and having um the villain in that be like that kind of archetype but also the mad scientist who's deeply insecure. Like you could have played some of those beats here.
There was a point that I wanted to relate to because I brought it up and then Elvis was echoing it as well. The RoboCop of it all, right? I feel like what could have been more interesting is if like the mad scientist was showing off the previous creations to SA, right? Like we do get the reveals of these other experiments later on, but we only know them from the context of like, please kill me, right? And I feel like there could have been an interesting thing where it's like, look at what I did with these other people, right? And we could have fleshed those things out,
Almost like
right?
he wants validation from
Yes.
SA of like, see, this is good.
Yes, and bringing it back to the RoboCop thing, right? Like the reason the RoboCop thing works so well is because there are so many different people, right? When you're having that moment with RoboCop, you're seeing all these different people who are commenting upon the segment, right? Rather than just like one person's point of view. Actually, I think that that's actually a problem in the RoboCop remake, right? Because in the RoboCop remake, you only get Gary Oldman, and I feel like in the original, you see him at like a New Year's Eve party. You see him like, in the process of his eyes being screwed in. I feel like it could have done more thoughtful beats in her construction rather than just like, here's this death machine that's coming.
And one more thing I will peg this for is that there's nothing like 90s about it to me. Not that I need this to be like all these to be referencing the 90s in like some kind of superficial like Stranger Things
like
way
Doom.
with the 80s, but yeah, it is like a 90s boomer shooter. You could say that about
it's
it.
It's very much like that, because especially when she's like her arms and weapons out, then she reloads and shit. It's very much that's like. But you're right. Like narratively, story wise, not 90s at all. But like I think that's what they were pulling from. Like 90s, let's do a video game thing.
Like, and it looked too. I would have loved it to look worse, like video quality wise. Like I was like, wow, this scientist has like the picture on these the cameras he's installed in these eyes or whatever. Is like he's getting really good, visuals here.
Doug, I don't want to be, like the opposite of Cinema Sins and be like ding, in the opposite direction. But I will say that like people.
You mean Cinema Wins?
Cinema Wins, I guess. Yes, you're right.
Oh, that guy's annoying too.
Look, I do not. If you are interacting with the term cinema too much, like you're on fraud watch in my books.
Absolute cinema.
Yeah, if you're throwing that around, like that's how I know I can't trust you. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that like. The fidelity question that you're talking about, it's right. You're right to bring it up, but what I will say is that just from my cursory knowledge of people who were experimenting with cameras at that time, there was definitely the possibility of getting the fidelity of this image at that era, specifically within people who were experimenting. This is me giving this movie the incredible benefit of the doubt. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to push back too much.
I'm not even like doubting from I guess it just looks so digital, and I'm sure other ones were shot digitally and then they just added the grain. But this one, it felt more noticeable. Of like this is you just put a filter on of some static occasionally, and it looks too nice, basically.
There is one thing I will say about the segment on that term that I do like, which is the battery level, right? When SA gets unplugged and we're watching the rest of the short and you're seeing the battery level get depleted, and like
she has a health bar. It's great.
Exactly, right? Like, and to Elvis's point, like that's when it really does feel like a Doom,
where exactly. It's the second best Doom movie after Ghost of Mars.
Hell yeah, another Ghost of Mars defender.
That's a Doom movie. You should call it Doom, re-release it. It probably go much better than it does right now.
Well, I know you're watching Mission to Mars, Elvis. So maybe you should wait until you finish that one before your rankings.
Maybe I should.
Yeah, but was Brian De Palma smoking weed and playing video games when he made Mission to Mars? I don't know.
He was smoking something. Cause who dismembers a heartthrob character 5 minutes into your Disney movie, man?
Hell yeah! He also I like, this is completely off topic, but I just want to point out the fact that Mission to Mars has a ride at like Disney World. It's one of the think about that for a second. Brian De Palma has a ride at Disney World. How fucking crazy is that? I never would have imagined. Imagine if like someone made a Phantom of the Paradise like the Universal Studios ride.
They should.
Yeah, I want it. I want it.
Come on, what was it? Haunted, whatever.
Haunted what? Sorry.
Haunted what? Halloween Nights. Let's do it.
Oh, like the Halloween Nights from like Universal. Like
Yeah.
have him be there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. They had
Yeah.
Bill and Ted be there. He could definitely have a
Yeah, just have
Phantom
the
of Paradise.
Phantom running around.
Why not? The mask is iconic.
Yeah, it's really good. But you were saying
About Mission to Mars, how there's the ride at Disney World.
no,
Yeah.
before that, how we got to that? You say about like it actually comes into its own once the health bar shows up.
Yeah. I guess getting back to that, like it gives the short a time limit, right? And I feel like there are many of these VHS shorts where like they're struggling to get to the time limit, or there's too much and it should be a feature, right? And what I will say in a positive sense about the short is that like it feels perfectly paced for what it has, right? Like it doesn't outstay its welcome in that sense. I just wish that it developed on the things that it had a bit more.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But this is also one I would see as a full feature. I mean, I would have no qualms about that. I think it'd be interesting, especially where it leaves off. Like, there's been like 3 more of these after this. Can we get a sequel? Is that so out of the ordinary?
It sounds like you need to watch all of the Tetsuo the Iron Man sequels.
That's true, but those are all non-interconnected anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that filmmaker. By the way, he's a fantastic filmmaker.
It's not a 1-for-1, but I also thought of some of the action scenes in Upgrade, like during this.
Oh yeah, no,
segment.
definitely,
great pull,
definitely.
Yeah.
The worst Venom movie. Am I right? I'm flipping it. I'm flipping it on its head from those annoying people say.
Baba Booey.
Uh-huh.
All right. Anyway, any more thoughts on this one before we move on to the next one?
No.
All right.
Good.
So the last segment of this one of VHS 94, Terror, written and directed by Ryan Prowse. Doug, it's up to you.
This one is pretty great. For me, at least. I don't know. I wasn't expecting the as soon as I realized that we're following like a white supremacist group and like the whole aesthetic of this one. I feel this is like my favorite looking one too. Of like that this just actually does feel like the video that some rednecks would be filming of themselves at their compound as they get ready to like they're preparing for something, and there's the thing of you kind of introduce the alarm that keeps going off, and then they keep executing someone, and it took me a couple times to realize I'm like, wait, that's the same guy. Like, what's going on here? We're just seeing this from different angles, but no, you realize that they have like a vampire captive somehow, and they're gonna use the vampire blood to like create an explosion to blow up this building. It's such a crazy concept because like to have vampires in one of these is I'm like, okay, that's something we haven't really done here, but then to like make it be through this kind of story is like, wait, what? This is white supremacists using vampire blood to do domestic terrorism? It's such a wild concept that and I don't know. I love the aesthetic of it, and I think this segment works for me.
This is the one I mentioned where I'm like, there's one here that felt like a full story, and that's this one. Now it's a story I enjoyed. I love the ambitiousness of it. I love how goofy it is. It felt like one of the later Tales from the Hood, segments where they got really, really goofy. So I love that about it. I felt like it was just kind of dull and meandering because after you kind of get it, I think I got a little bit earlier. You're just waiting for it to pay off, and the payoff is really fun. It does kind of go like all out near the end. Again, it just felt like there like once you get it, you're just kind of waiting it out. But I thought at least it had like a full story that kind of felt like something that was that had a narrative vision that it got to complete. Like I didn't feel like okay, there was probably more that could be done here.
And I think they know what's coming, so they kind of just quickly get to like, okay, how are we gonna get to the all hell breaking loose? I don't know. They get really drunk and they're fucking around with the vampire. You like it's such a silly like that does feel like a Tales from the Hood beat or something where it's like, wait, this is how you guys fuck it up that you just like got the blood all over you when you're trying to. They're like daring him to kiss the. It's so silly. And I like the look like when we see it like transformed in like hunting them like in the attic. Like I think that's a cool design of like it the way it opens up. It almost kind
Like
of
Blade
similar.
2.
I was just about to say Blade 2, or it's funny that Guillermo del Toro just used the same design for the strain. He was like, yeah, they're like the Blade 2 vampire.
I just wanted to like echo some of the enthusiasm for this because this was the short that when I was re-entering this movie, I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna feel the same way I felt about the first time I watched this. I was gonna be like, eh. But honestly, the depth that is brought with this is great. The fact that these guys are the dumbest people ever, the fact that they're planning some kind of like Oklahoma City bombing part 2 kind of thing with the vampire blood is just the perfect kind of like dumb guy terrorist plot, right? And the it's a comedy of errors, right? Like they are the cause of their own undoing. And while the horror itself is actually pretty effective, I felt like it was all because of their mistakes and because their worldview is so flawed and because the way that they handle themselves are so flawed. It all adds up really well. And to echo something that you were saying about, as well, Doug, it's like feels like the most authentic VHS short on an aesthetic level. Like it actually nails the whole scan lines, whenever it interrupts, like it actually does feel like it was shot in the era. And that goes a long way. And especially when we get to like the ending of it, when we're in the attic and it's just lit by the one light, like it gets all of the exposure right. It gets the way that all the colors would be just perfect. It's a very pleasing film in many ways. It hits all of the different beats that it should for what it sets out to do. And one thing I wanted to point out as well is that this filmmaker, Ryan Prowse, he just put out a movie called Night Patrol. It's getting rave reviews. Like I'm hearing nothing but great things about it, and I'm really excited to watch it. But like I just wanted to point out that like we've got something to look forward to with this guy.
Oh, I think I'd seen people posting about that. I mean,
Yeah, it's a very recent movie. It's still in theaters.
I gotta see if I can find that somewhere. Yeah, that looks cool. But back to this. Yeah, I just love how dumb they are. I there is the thing that they like tie it to. I mean, this isn't this segment's fault. Like I'm not gonna blame it for the sins of the wraparound thing, but then when we cut back at the end of Holy Hell,
Oh.
they're like, "You were in that tape, huh?" And
Yeah,
it's
I
like
hated that so much, man.
that
So
that was
corny.
that's dumb, especially if you're not gonna do anything with that. Because I think the idea of cops aiding this white supremacist group is cool, and as we know from just history and recent event that's like real that's these things are hand in hand. So I don't need the short to like flesh that out. I like it. If anything, the little bit we get of him showing up there to the compound is fine. I just hate that the next, like, as we cut out of this, that they like arrive like, oh, you got some explaining to do.
I almost would have preferred them showing tapes from the previous films. Like I feel like that would have been the kind of stupid direction they could have gone in with that wraparound segment. That would have it wouldn't have worked, but I would have preferred that over what they attempted with this.
Right, because it's like if you're gonna try and narratively connect these, you have to do something. You can't just be like, you were in the tape. Okay, we're killing you now. It's like, why?
You know what they should have done? I just thought this right now, and it's gonna sound really dumb, but bear with me, okay? They're like they're like, okay, you need to help us, and then it turns out that Slater is the old guy from the first movie.
Oh,
That would be like a dumb twist where you're like, whoa, and then you're like, that makes no sense, but it's the vibes of it would probably work for me. Where I'd be like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? That's the entire thing. Why not? How did these two chicks stop the apocalypse? Who knows?
mhm. Like this is a dumb franchise, right? Like like while there are shorts that say cool things, as we signposted throughout, I think that we can all agree that this is still like pretty pulpy nonsense all throughout, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like that's okay if they wanted to reach more into that realm. And I don't want to wrap this into like my general thoughts of this movie, anyways. But like I do feel like that what how stupid it is, right? How slight it all is more within the right realm of what this franchise should be rather than like trying to be the brutal element of it, right? Like especially in going back to the terror, right? Like this is the most brutal segment, I would say, just in how much gore there is, how like thorny the topics are, right? But at the same time, there is a brevity brought to it that allows for the commentary to shine through really well. So, like, again, it's centering. All of this is centering because it feels like there's a coherent thought throughout.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're injecting the blood into a rabbit to test it. Like it's deeply dumb and silly, but that like feels right for this. Like I feel like yeah, it does nail this kind of new tone shift. And yeah, this one just really works for me.
Yeah, no, talk through it more. I gotta say I do like this one more. Just talking through it, remembering on it. I'm still not gonna say this wasn't the worst VHS, but I do enjoy this one as well. Again, I just felt like in watching it, it did take its time, and I didn't. Maybe I also was colored by the final segment being like, and you were in that, so you're evil too. Mwahahaha. I'm getting undressed now by the two chick cops. It's
Yeah,
so
I just have to keep them separate. That's
it's so bad.
that's a different movie.
It's so bad, so bad, man. Why? Um, but I do enjoy Terror. Again, if you haven't watched any of the later Tales from the Hood movies, I recommend them because not good, but they get into things like this. Like I would be perfectly along the lines of 2 or 3 or American Nightmares.
I also just love exploding vampires instead of just like the lighting on fire. Like it's just like no, they're gonna violently explode when exposed to
Yeah,
sunlight.
La Magra. Yeah.
And I
I
love
love that.
the setting being like them in the snow, right? The fact that it's all like the blood goes everywhere and you see it on the ground, right? Like everything about it feels like really well planned, really professional, right? Even though the fact of its format is just found footage and it looks like it's on VHS, right? Like it feels really lived in. And I really appreciate that about this segment. Like it actually feels really well considered.
And the fact that they even leave in parts of like the leader being like cut, and then you can see him when you go back to him like preparing to like he's gonna, you know, like he knows that they're recording this for like for posterity, but also it's like almost kind of like a video manifesto in a way because they're like we're announcing ourselves with this act we're gonna do. So
Mhm.
he's putting on airs to like you see him preparing before they like interview him. So I like leaving those little moments in.
And something that's really cool about that exactly, Doug, is that like when you have those moments with like the subordinates, right? Like the lesser on the totem poles, right? Like it's very clear that these guys are just doing this for a reason to hang out, right? And they're just and when it comes to the leader, right? Like he's just looking to lead, and he's not a particularly good leader, and they aren't fully sold on his message 100%, but it's like everything is just good enough for them to continue along with this crazy asinine plot, and it just feeds into the stupidity of it all so well.
Yeah, they're just there for a good time, and that's why the fact that them partying is what undoes the whole plan makes it so funny. They would. they don't even understand it for when he's like he dresses in very flowery language of like we're going to purify ourselves, and they're like, huh? And he's like, we're gonna get drunk as shit. Like, oh, okay.
Exactly, right? Like that's what they're there for, right? But at the same time, it is from this like white supremacist lens, right? Where it's like they're not even really thinking through the whole message, but they know that it makes them feel good, and that's where their hate is, right? And then as it plays out in the short, right? Like it's the leader sending all of these guys in before him. It's him being like, oh, he's in the attic. Go get him. They go up to the attic. I think he got him. And then they go up to the attic and they didn't get him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this one's my favorite of the movie of 94.
I think that's fair. Like this is a really strong entry. I really love Ratma, right? But this is the one that I like when I was watching it again, I was like, yeah, this one really slaps.
I will say it does, even though there's goofy aspect to it, it does take a little bit more of a grounded, more I would say serious edge to like what the topic's handling at. So
Right.
it does feel a little more distinct. I do think they made a great choice having this one be the one that kind of closes it out. So I enjoyed that too about it.
Yeah, it's the one that closes out, and there's nothing else in the movie after it ends.
Yeah,
There's no other scene.
Just turn it off. It's done.
it's
Over and
done.
done with.
It's done. All right. So any other thoughts about this one before we head on to Devil's Due?
No, I think we said it all.
Yeah. We're the Shutter era is coming down hard. Okay, so we're gonna see where this goes from then on out. But let's move on into the next one that we are talking about, which is where is this one? Devil's Due, which was let's see, the let's see here. Okay, here, Devil's Due, directed by Radio Silence, released in 2014. Wait, is it my turn again? Damn it. Or, yeah, no, it is. Damn it. All right, so this is as Tony has been talking about for weeks now, a found footage twist on Rosemary's Baby, where it's about this married couple who they're finally expecting after getting married after their honeymoon. And it turns out that something might not be right with McCall Baby, and as things kind of develop further, they start getting followed. They start noticing weird noises, weird movements, missing objects in the night, and the Samantha McCall, the mother to be, starts acting just a little bit strange. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot better than I felt it was going to be. Just by the outset, but I thought it had really good bones on itself. I thought that while it could have been longer, I liked that it actually wasn't like a straightforward found footage movie. As I mentioned before we started, it's more like Dracula, the novel. I would say it's an epistolary movie, where it's using the aesthetic and the idea of found footage rather than it's actually talking itself or looking at itself as found footage, which I think has its pros and cons. But what do you guys think of it?
Speaking to what you said of like, yeah, it's using the found footage aesthetic. I think that's one of the elements I enjoyed the most is that we're getting all these different sources of video of like, the cult installs the cameras in the home. I'm like, okay, that's a good way of like, we don't need it all to be midnight masses holding the camera, follow recording everything, because then you're gonna that's just limiting narratively. So like you're opening it up in a way, and like when we get those you know those kids who come upon the wife when she's in the woods, so you have the security camera footage from the shopping or from the supermarket. So like I like that it like mixes its sources like that.
I think that what Elvis was bringing up about this being similar to Dracula, this being
Hmm.
like kind of like an homage posh of these different sources, you know,
Hmm.
and I, I think that that really unlocks the film more for me because upon return to this, I kind of liked it a bit less. But at the same time, kind of looking at it more as like this thing that kind of doles itself out more as inevitable as it goes along, right? Like the structure of the film itself is what's more interesting than the central fear. And
Yeah.
it's like it's like watching that unfold the way that it does is actually really well considered compared to like any kind of terror that it could sustain. And
Hmm.
what I wanted to touch on briefly before I pass it off is that like the first like half hour to an hour of this movie is like a really good comedy about like the fears of pregnancy and like
Mm-hmm.
the insecurities that this young couple have in terms of like their readiness as parents. And I think that like remove the Rosemary's Baby of it all, just like taking that as its own conflict. I think that the actors play it really well, and the writing and the direction actually supports it really well as well. Sorry for saying well so many times. Think of all the buckets of water you could have gotten. At the end of the day, like I think this is it's a really well written film that while the third act stumbles quite a bit for me, I think that it draws out these beats in interesting ways that are well burrowed into from a motivation standpoint.
Yeah, I would say the main performances of like the couples, Zach and Sam, and even some of Zach's family, like I like those performances. There's some that I were taking me out of it, like the doctor. Like I know that the inevitability of it, like it doesn't need to be like these kind of movies like that are doing a Rosemary's Baby riff. It's like, yeah, you can start to know way before the characters that all these people are in on it, but it just I just would have preferred it to have been played like like as soon as he enters the room, he's like it should be red flag. Like it just makes the characters look. I mean they are uncomfortable and they want to know where the old OBGYN is, but then they kind of just let it slide, even though this guy is like the most sus doctor of all time. So it's like yeah, I don't want to make it sound like yeah, more CinemaSin dings, but it's more from like a character based standpoint and of like I would buy this world more if the character themselves was
More savvy.
Mhm.
yeah was giving yeah, and that the character of the doctor was like giving a better performance. It's like you're not even trying to fool them.
I wanted to like just kind of build off, but also push back a little bit just in that specific regard, right? Because I really like the twist of the OBGYN changing in the sense that like the first one is so strong. The first one is like an actually empathetic doctor, right? And like there are oddities in the first moment there. Like there are things that are tipping off that this is going to be a horror film early on with that first doctor. And then when that switch does happen, it is so out of left field. It is so crazy, right? And it clues you into it more that it is a very artificially structured film, right? But when it does get to that moment, it's like it is a really good ice bath moment. And while the fear of this film does come often from like who is lying to you, the central antagonist does become the pregnant wife at one point, which is a big inversion on the Rosemary's Baby formula.
Right, that it's him who's trying to like get to the bottom of the cult and like figure out what this all means rather than him just also being in on it is
It
is
reminds
is
me
an
a lot.
inversion.
It reminds me a lot of the remake of The Omen in that way, not the original Omen, the remake of
Mhm.
The Omen. Because the remake of The Omen does this thing that I appreciate, and so that's why I would call the remake of The Omen the third best Omen movie, um, is because like it it manages a lot more with Liev Schreiber's character, where they have him become more invested in Damien. In the original movie, he loves Damien. Obviously, they're smiling at all those pictures in that montage. It it engrosses it more. It creates a little bit more of a sense that he is on a mission for his son that you don't really feel like it is in the original. So I thought that really did carry forward here. It reminded me a little bit of that. Um, but also, just want to say, it also reminded me of It's Alive. I want to bring up It's Alive. I mentioned it before we started recording. When we're talking about like who do you trust, like the fears of parenthood. You know, as Tony put it, their acuity as parents, their readiness to be parents. It felt a lot more like It's Alive. Like It's Alive 1 and 2 are all about that kind of stuff. So I kind of wish they had more elements of that, or a follow up to this, because he did seem very proactive. And then I was watching It's Alive 2 like a moments ago. I got the hankering for it because it reminded me so much of it. And It's Alive 2, I love about that one is that kind of picks up in the first movie, where the protagonist of the first movie goes around, trying to warn people about like this upcoming kind of thing about all these, these mutated babies and how to handle it, in different ways. So I thought that would be a really interesting way for this to go into. It just kind of ends. So I don't know. If there was ever a sequel, I'd love to see something like that.
How do you guys feel about some of the effects? I feel like I like the idea of, or, she's possessed, or she has this strength, or like other things are happening other than just the baby's coming, like that it's like it's a symbiotic thing. But in terms of like what we see, once she starts like throwing telekinetic stuff around, like I that took me out of it a little bit. Like
Yeah.
it was, I was like, that's actually more boring now, the way they're portraying it. With like, I feel like they were trying to spice it up of like, okay, so she has powers, but I'm like, okay, but you're not portraying these powers in like the most interesting way.
Yeah, I really wanted to echo that stuff, because that's really where this movie kind of like falls off the rails a bit, right? Because like when you get her in the parking lot and she's smashing up windows, that's kind of like when the movie's working its best. Like when you're getting like a pregnant woman who's like acting out of reaction to protection of her child, and also like there's the superhuman level to it that makes it a bit more terrifying to the audience. I think all of that really works. The
Because that's
problem
character based, yeah.
Exactly, right? But then it's like when you get like a moment where the camera is just like on the table and you're watching the belly kind of move in weird ways, right? Like it looks really artificial, it just doesn't get the whole thing right. And then like on the poster you see there's this moment where like she's in the pentagram, and then like her belly and the pentagram like light up, like there's a big glow. And whenever it was doing things like that, like to echo something you were saying, Doug, it really feels basic for what was happening in that era of found footage, and it feels like it's hitting those beats, right? And there's a level to it, I guess, of like you're as old as me, youngins, where you remember when found footage was kind of like in this trial area, and it's hitting all of those cliche beats. It's kind of funny and nice to see those things present again. But definitely in the era, this was definitely something that you would expect at these points. And these effects are not without the trappings of found footage, separate from VHS, separate from all of the positive things we've been saying about found footage so far. This was certainly evocative of like the post Paranormal Activity era.
Yeah, those moments reminded me of found footage movies like The Devil Inside, like stuff that was so bad that it almost made me like think less about. I was like, oh, if
Mhm.
this is what found footage is, I don't know if I'm about it. It just, the rest of the in terms of the characterization and other uh themes that the film sets up initially, those felt more considered than when we're getting to the more generic found footagey of that era stuff. So yeah, it felt like it was like at odds with itself a little bit more towards the end.
And I agree of that, all that. I feel like, as I mentioned, while I like the structure of the film and I like how it plays with its sources, like Dracula again, it's not, it's a collection of articles and transcripts and journal entries, diary entries, recordings, all that kind of stuff, but never pretends it's more than a novel. And like, oh, you're reading a real scrapbook of Dracula. Never anything like that. I love that kind of plays like that in the sense of how it kind of depicts everything. My main fault is that nothing ever really gets developed either. Like in found footage movies, it's basically all that you see is what you're seeing. And I think the worst found footage movies try to give too much backstory by doing all kinds of tricks with it. And this one doesn't really do that, which I think is kind of also disappointing because there's so much here that is left unexplored, you know? And it does really feel underwritten or underwhelming at times because of that, the central horror hook of it.
The conclusion could have gone so much harder, right? Like we had the first Omen recently, right? And that movie is a real rip roaring fun time.
F that movie. It sucked.
Oh no! Oh no! Doug,
Yeah,
where do you land on it?
Oh, I really love the first song. Me and Elvis have gotten into it previously about
Why are they
that.
not Satanists? They're so dumb.
You know what? That's a fair critique, but I will say, like, just from an experiential standpoint, that's what I'm getting at with this, right?
Because
I
the
feel
ending
like-
goes hard in that movie.
Exactly. Yes. Right. Like when it cranks up to 11, it really does feel that way. Right. And I'll even compare it to a different movie. You know, I'll say Immaculate. Remember how Immaculate was?
Immaculate
Right?
was fun.
Immaculate was a really good movie, right? But I feel like First Omen coming out right afterwards and kind of eating its nachos in a way, right? Like it really did take that one step beyond, right? And I feel like Devil's Due almost like in its third act hits that kind of Immaculate era where it's like it has a strong concept, but like in its execution, it doesn't go all the way, right? Now going to something that's earlier on in the film, and this is just like a personal thing that I noted, and I wanted to hear what you guys thought about this. But like, how many found footage films have you guys watched where it's like, here is this popular music, or here is this like music that's in this area, and it's a song you never heard of. It's like some kind of like, you know, whatever pop generic trash to just kind of fill the space. One really positive thing I want to say about this movie is that every single needle drop is like an actual song that you'd like someone may recognize. And that's something that like I feel like more found footage films could do in terms of just like actually making these feel like they're lived in pieces, you know? I don't know if this is hyper niche, but I just want to throw that out.
No, I know what you're talking about. And the funny thing is that I feel the same way about Rec 3, except Rec 3 kind of
Excellent point. Excellent point. So
it kind of it destroys gets rid of the found footage element like halfway through. But in the first half, it's a wedding, so there's all these songs, and it feels very lived, they're very natural songs, doesn't feel forced, and one of the songs becomes like the theme of the movie in a way. But yeah, no, that's really I like that. I do like that a lot.
Speaking of disregarding its format halfway through, how would you guys have felt if this movie got to the end point that we see like halfway through, and then the rest of it's like a court documentary about the husband being on trial?
I would have loved it. I feel like that would.
I think that would have been the better ending. Yeah, I feel like that's the better movie.
Because this does peter out, like it does. Like a lot of things are underwritten, are underwhelming. I don't want to say underwritten; they're underwhelming because obviously, what's written is what's written, right? And it always feels like they're just scratching the surface. But because the whole aesthetic of it all, the characters don't go into the surface, then we're not getting to the surface. And I feel like there's a lot more interesting stuff there that we just aren't allowed to explore because of the format, so something like that would have been really interesting. And I thought that would be at least a stronger character ending. I do want to see where that husband character goes. I do want to see an It's Alive 2 for Devil's Due, where he's still like on an adventure there. The guy's a good actor. He's done a lot of Mike Flanagan stuff. So I don't know. I'd be interested in seeing him continue this.
I wanted to cut in a bit just because we haven't touched more on the It's Alive thing, and I know Doug, you haven't seen It's Alive, but Elvis, I think that your comparison point to It's Alive is excellent, because the thing about It's Alive versus Rosemary's Baby is like the baby itself is the evil, right? And and this movie plays with that so much more than Rosemary's Baby ever did, right? Like you only see the baby, or you understand the baby's nature by the end of the film, right? And this one plays so much more with like the baby itself being the evil, right? And also another thing about this movie is like, and this is one of the things about the movie that I really like actually, is that we learn very early on that the woman who's having this child, her mother died in childbirth. And for her, that's a big anxiety for her, right? And I feel like the actress plays that really well, and the film is always coming back to that beat, and that's where the movie really shines. Sorry, 1 second. The thing about this movie is that, like, when it does get to this third act and it's going out in this more traditional way, it feels like it just could go a bit further in a better written area where it could just develop on these things a bit more. And like I like these characters, but then they just kind of peter out, and it feels like Radio Silence, they're better directors than they are writers. And I like the
Yeah.
way that they conceptualize these things. And I just wish they could have handed this off to someone like a Simon Barrett. I feel like they would have had a better way of making this all feel just a bit more coherent and conclusive.
Because all the like you said, I agree she's great at playing like all those like the fears of pregnancy and like the trauma, the baggage that she's carrying, but then it's just what she has to play at the end is like much less interesting. It's just like possessed, and
And that's why I don't like about that, because it does remove a lot of her agency, which is what Rosemary Baby is all about. Agency. It's all about the fear of being
True.
controlled, and this kind of skips right past that to like at the end. I'm like, what part of her is still herself, and not in like in a suspenseful way, but like in an annoyed way. Like am I seeing like the character now, or is the character completely involved and enveloped already? And
Well,
I just got really kind of that did irk me. It did irk me.
Well, one thing I would push back a bit slightly on what you just said there, Elvis, is like I feel like that's consistent throughout the whole film, right? Because like she goes on this vacation with their husband, right, and they go on this honeymoon, and when the announcement of the pregnancy happens, right, like she's stressing several times, like I was on the pill, right,
she took it religiously. Ha, get it?
but but like, and then that becomes a bigger thing later in the film where she's like, I didn't even really want to be pregnant, right? And that's an interesting inversion of Rosemary's Baby in my eyes, right? Because like in Rosemary's Baby, she's happy to have the child, right? She's excited for it, right? And in this movie, like it plays it out really, like it doesn't really play its cards up front. It really doles it out, and then by the end, you're like, oh shit, she just never wanted to have this child. She had no part in this process. And like, to your point, Elvis, like she didn't have a say in it, right? But then that's also the terror of it. Like the entire point up until that moment where we have that conversation, she is just quietly thinking to herself, I don't even really want to be pregnant. And like when she announces that news, right? Like the guy who's filming is just like, we're gonna have a baby. Like he's happy to have the baby, but at the same time, he never asks to say, do you want to have this baby? Right? Like all of that stuff is like actually quite interesting. It's just that it doesn't take it all the way for me, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, there's a lot of things where I think the format holds it back, especially it's those introspective scenes that we would have gotten if this was a like more of a standard kind of format of a film. It's kind of the opposite issue with Siren. Siren takes a concept that would have been perfect for found footage, and this one I feel like it's good. It's interesting. It's a great experiment. I think it executes it well enough, but there are points where like you wish they could just dig in more. They could just get outside of it, a little bit more.
It should have felt more like Chronicle, honestly. I've got some complicated feelings about that movie, right? But it's like I feel like it could have like broken the form a bit more to just kind of just reach something a bit deeper, right? And that's what this movie is really begging for in its third act, right? But I really like what it's doing in the first two.
Because when all the powers and stuff start manifesting, you almost anticipate that you're gonna get something different than just the, oh, she's fully possessed now, and having, and then the child comes, and then the cult takes it, like I like you said, like some kind of not that there needs to be an epic battle in the sky where they're flying around fighting like that, but some kind of escalation that takes it in some direction, especially since you are showing her with powers that you like think that like, okay, so are we gonna do anything with that? And it's like, no, she just like throws some people around, and then we're gonna do the standard thing.
I think it kind of goes back to thing I was saying earlier, where it's like, if someone else wrote this, I feel like somebody else who is outside of like, because like Radio Silence is playing within the concept of the first found footage segment they did in VHS 2, right? Like, I feel like they're building upon that in this film, but I feel like they needed somebody who was outside of the found footage realm to kind of like understand this more from a story standpoint rather than like a found footage standpoint. And I feel like that would have
more
made the movie
narrative,
work.
more
Exactly.
navigation. I definitely agree. Um, but overall, I feel like we're being a little bit too mean about this one. But I think
Yeah, it's good.
we all enjoyed it. But yeah, it just feels more like a nice lark than something really depthy, unfortunately.
Like you
Like,
said before, an interesting experiment, but
Yeah,
because we know that there is talent there, especially from them as directors more so than writers. That like you just wish that there was that extra element, whether it was just some different cooks in the kitchen as far as the writing went, that could have like brought that like all these third act issues we have, like could have just like a different third act maybe.
it's a really well directed movie. I
yeah.
think this is a really well directed movie. And the problem is that like, we've talked about like them as shortcomings in terms of like the Scream movies. I know like you guys have mixed feelings on the Scream movies they've made, right? But I feel like this is one of those movies you can point to and just be like, Radio Silence does have the juice a bit. They do have some things in the tank where they are good filmmakers, and they really are reliant on the material. And sometimes when they're in charge of their own material, it just does not fully cohese. That's their major flaw.
Okay, actually, this was written by Lindsay Delvin. I'm looking at. I
What else did they do?
She wrote something called In So Many Words that never heard of that, and nothing else.
Get her out of here. She sucks.
Yeah, hack watch.
I did want to say one thing. I mean, this is like my biggest nitpick, but also when I really did not like in the movie. This in terms of like my issue of found footage movies, but did they really not check the footage of the night they blacked out at all in like the last 8 months?
I had the same thought. That's like one of those when he is watching the footage back and he's like, "Wait a second." I was like, "Didn't you like I would you
If
come
I
back from
blacked
your
out,
honeymoon. You come back from your honeymoon. You want to watch the honeymoon footage." That's what I think.
Especially since they can't remember that night. That would be like
exactly.
the first thing you check. Oh, we had a camera.
The morning after, if you black out in the middle of a nightclub in a foreign country and you wake up without knowing how in your hotel room, you check the goddamn footage.
Well, one thing to like bring it back to a positive, right? Because I feel like we've been dogging on this, but I also get the impression we all kind of like this movie, which
We
is
all
like
did.
really interesting. That's the interesting thing about this movie, right? Like it's good, but it's like there
These
are big
critiques
flaws.
are coming at it from a place of like, I want it to be better at the
better,
thing
yeah.
that it's do like, yeah, I'm not saying like, oh, this
Oh,
sucks.
yeah. This
Yeah.
is unredeemable. No, it's redeemable because it's good already. It could
Yes,
be great. It's good.
This
I
is
feel
this
like
is not Siren. This is
No.
not. There's bones of something good here already. It's not like Siren. The whole thing is just
Like,
you have to throw out.
We have to rebuild from. We were talking about how to rebuild Cyber from the ground up, but this double
Mhm.
two. Yeah, there's good enough here.
Yes, but like one thing, just like a basic element, I just wanted to bring up, right? Like we've talked so many times about like the motivation of filming things, right? And why this is happening. And I like it's not like I think that is terribly deep, but it's like the fact that it's just like this guy who just got married to this woman and he's just like, I just want to record everything because like I'm just so happy with you. That right there, especially at that point in time in like the early 2010s, I really bought it. Like he's a really sweet guy and she's like down with it. Like like I bought the whole setup of this movie.
He sells the sincerity of it, and again, the movie doesn't have to place all its weight on that because they have the other sources. Like that was kind of like a refreshing reveal
Hey.
of like when they start installing the cameras. I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually. It was like already I did buy it, but it does take some of the weight off of like, okay, we can give you more than just his camera.
But bringing about the siren, Zach is a nice guy, like a legitimately nice guy. He's not like a fake nice guy. Like the
No,
guy
he's
from
not.
Siren.
But
He's a
yeah,
nice-
in a way that's like we said, it's like a compelling inversion of the Rosemary's Baby because it's like he just wants his wife to be okay, so that's why he's like getting to the bottom of this, like rather than just the guy who's like, I'm nice, who keeps saying they're nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's the history, right? It's this concept that like she was born from a pregnancy that killed her mother, and like that itself is just strong character motivation. Like that's hanging in the back of her mind the entire time, right? And like it's always on her face, and it's always in his voice inflection. Like he is worried for her as well and trying to soothe her, right? Like it's really strong performances. And like talking about found footage, right? Like you don't really get a lot of that like complicated, like, you know, interpersonal dynamics and found footage like that played this well. Like I feel like this is where the movie really shines the best, is like in the first and second acts.
Yeah, I agree. That's the reason why I keep ragging on like the ending and third act, because I was like, oh, I thought they could have done something more special, like the where we started.
What do we think about like the French reveal at the end of the movie?
I've never trusted the French, so it's all in line with that they're just in other countries like doing this.
Well, that's the other element I thought was under thought, or well, under revealed or under depicted. Because the beginning of the movie has this quote that's repeated later on in the movie about how, you know, there's going to be more than one Antichrist. But like, what does that mean? What's the utility of that? Like, how does that work? And
yeah,
like,
they're just farming these women. Like,
for how many Antichrists do you need? How many?
I thought one was enough, you know.
Exactly. So like,
there's the dark times don't happen unless you have like
is it like Reaper?
50.
Is it like Reaper, where there's like he's the Antichrist, but also his brother is the Antichrist too?
Yeah. Kevin
Well,
Smith's The Devil's Due.
oh man, I would love to see Kevin Smith make this movie. You know that he would have just like Rosario Dawson like is pregnant and she's just like making a meal out of her stomach just exploding. Oh man, like but one thing I wanted to point out with like the whole reveal of, oh, it's happening in all these different cities, blah, 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 you know, like I think that the when we're initially meant to like accept this as like a moment within their vacation in this foreign land and she's been infected with this pregnancy, like if it just left it there, I would have been way more negative about this movie. But the fact that it's happening in like multiple places, I think actually does like save that a bit, you know. If this movie was-
it doesn't make it xenophobic in terms of like just being like, oh, they went to the Dominican Republic, they went to one of the
and other found footage films do that often. So I just wanted to point that out as like a plus for this.
Latino, I would say, you know, they got it completely right. Okay, never go to South America. They got it right, man. Don't go down there. But no, but like that's the thing. Like, I just brings to my mind, like, what's the purpose? Like, when the number, it seems like maybe the priest knows, the I love Fonzie priest, or, you know, I think about it all the time. He's the guy from Friends. He loves Fonzie.
They're collecting them like Pokemon. That's why they need to get all the Antichrists.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like ice.
Whoa, God!
Oh my God, that's a good idea for the sequel. That's what they're doing. Anyway, but like that's also again brings it up to the It's Alive thing, because again, like if they're the Antichrist, and it seems like they take them. I don't know why you need to take the Antichrist babies. If they're Antichrist babies, just leave them with the parent, you know.
Let him
Yeah,
Antichrist, you
yeah,
know,
exactly.
like
You know, so it does kind of mix like, is it nature? Is it nurture? Like, what's going on there? And so,
I think that's a problem with like the era of found footage that this is, because it's trying so hard to be the first Paranormal Activity where everybody dies, right? Like if it stepped outside of that just a little bit, right? It could have gone in that It's Alive realm. There could have been sequels to this movie,
what
and
if
I
the
would have
mom
watched it.
lives? Like that's
yeah,
thorny. He could still go to jail for the sister getting killed, and then but then you leave it on the eerie note of like she's gonna raise the child, and then you're like, well, what does that mean?
yeah.
Like this movie is way better than like The Gallows, right? Like this is a
Okay,
step up.
we can name a bunch of found footage movies that this is better than.
Oh yeah, for sure, right? Like I'm picking on that because it's an easy target, you know. Like when it comes to found footage, this is a really well considered found footage film at most points. The major problem is that like it just doesn't take that extra step, and I get the impression from all of our inflections is that we just wish that it was just a bit more daring.
Yeah, it's better than the 4.2 it has because Devil Inside is also a 4.2 on IMDb. So I'm like, no,
That's
no,
outrageous. That is
this
outrageous that this has the same rating as Devil Inside. I
I
just
have
have
no, I, you know, I was just gonna say, you know, I have no idea why anyone ever went to see Devil Inside, because the trailer for that was one of the worst shit I've ever seen for a horror movie ever in my life. Everyone's like, "We were fooled by the marketing." Were you? You're just dumb. No wonder Trump got elected.
I was just dragged to it. Okay, I wasn't fooled by the marketing. It was just a friend was like, "Let's
I just
see
hear
it."
that so often. I hear that so often. They're
No,
like, the trailer was so good. No, it wasn't.
we're talking about that era. We have to talk about the fact that Paranormal Activity did like fucking light a fire under the ass of found footage in that sense, where people wanted more of that, right? And Devil's Inside was trying to be like
Connect the cuts, connect the cuts. That's the only thing I remember
yeah,
from that movie.
the tongue and all, like, sorry, like it's such a bad movie, but like when you say all those things, I'm reminded of just the bad reviews I heard of it, right? And the reason is that like people were they were clamoring at the bit for more Paranormal Activity. They wanted more things that were exactly like that, right? And the problem is that like they wanted the things that were exactly like that, but they wanted it to go a bit further. And in Devil's Due, like it's almost there. And the thing for me is like I brought this movie up for us to do as a spinoff, right? And in my mind, when I watched it at the time, I was like, yeah, this does really do an inversion of it. But I feel like as time has gone along, more found footage films have done more interesting things with the format. So almost I feel like this has aged poorly as time has gone along. And that's a really weird thing with this
I don't
genre,
know.
because it's a rare genre for you to say it ages poorly.
Well, maybe it's because I came to it like right now, and I'm
Yeah,
not a fan of.
fair.
I'm not a fan of like fan footage in general. Anyway, I still found it refreshing. You know, not doesn't break the mold story wise, but found footage. You know, I found it refreshing. It didn't feel like it's limiting itself, but it does feel limited, which I think that's the pull and pull it has. Like it feels like more expansive than than your regular found footage movie, but it's like story wise, it still feels as restrictive as it is, as most of those can be.
But even as is, like we keep harping on, like it's above all the others of its ilk of this era that where they're like just trying to crank out like paranormal activity ripoffs of like yeah we can just put no effort into this, and there's effort, there's creativity, and there's talent with like the acting here, so like it's definitely with merit.
Mhm.
It's a good movie.
It's
It's
a good
just
movie.
not a great movie.
Yeah.
And it's so close to being a great movie.
Yeah,
That's the problem for me.
yeah, I definitely agree. It is it's interesting, and like it's good and it's interesting. The parts where those overlap come and go.
Totally.
If they hadn't had that hack Lindsay Delvin write it, it would have been something
Lindsay!
special. But I'm blaming it on the woman.
just like this movie does, because only the man survives.
Yeah.
But like the central protagonist of this film, like she is fantastic in this movie. I
It's a great
really love her.
performance.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's comedic, but she's also like very, very like she sells the dire nature of this movie really well.
I would take her out for a nice pasta dinner.
Yeah. I would have saved that. I would have gone down some swarthy, disgusting South American bar in the middle of the night.
Because she doesn't even want to go. From the beginning, she's like, not even if she's not clocking the full extent of how sinister the machinations are. She's like, nah, let's just go back to the hotel. And he's the one who's fallen for the cab driver's like, come on, and he's like, okay, I guess we gotta.
That's what's so great about the intro of the movie, right? Like it's these groups of it's a whole system really of people who are just like, come on, one more drink, come on, let's hang out a bit. And like we've all been out having fun drinking and all that stuff, and you know what it's like when you're out on the night on the town and you're like, let's just do it again, let's just have another round, and when it's in that realm, like it all plays into that really well. And I also really like when like they're at the dance club and they're looking at us, all of those moments are played expertly. And then when we even see like the ritual, it's all these things that just feel really lived in. Actually, before I pass it off, I wanted to throw this question to you, Elvis, right? Because I have this thing that's been gnawing at me.
Yeah.
I know you're not a fan of House of the Devil. Do you think that Devil's Due is better than
Yeah,
House
way
of the
better.
Devil? Yep, I knew it. Take it away.
Yeah, because House of the Devil feels so like undercooked. Like again, it kind of while this I've said before, this is a great experiment. I think in terms of its form, House of the Devil kind of blew the steam for me like 5 minutes in, and then it just continues to lose steam until the part where we get into the ritual. It feels like tonally, visually, aesthetically different, and not in a good way than everything that came before. It feels weaker, feels ramshackle, and like it feels like this is where you really should have kept more of that energy. Maybe build up to it, but no, it kind of feels like we're out of steam and we're just going through the motions. And that part when in the graveyard is like so slapdash visually and in terms of direction and writing than everything came before. I even enjoy some of the stuff that came before, but it's like, what are we even doing here? Well, Devils Do, the vision that they have for it in terms of like the stylization, that carries through. I mean, despite the narrative faltering, it carries through to the very end, which I really like. I like that it even has bookends. It has all that kind of stuff. It has an epilogue. It's great. I think that in terms comparing them as aesthetic experiments, aesthetic ambitions, Devil's Due comes out on top.
I see that perspective. I don't land in the same place, but I get what you're saying, because you're not wrong in terms of like how the House of the Devil breaks its whole aesthetic it's established. For me, that's a feature that I actually like. That I'm like, oh, okay, so we're not just doing pastiche, like, because it's gonna like intentionally break from that at the end here. So I don't know that slapdashness of how messy the end gets works for me in that, and I just like that central performance carries me pretty far. I like that actress in that movie.
This is completely off topic, right? But I just wanted to throw this out there because I feel like this is a funny thing for us to talk about. So we've talked about The Sacrament, right? The Ty West found footage Jonestown movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember who plays the Jonestown leader in that film?
No.
I remember liking that performance, but the actor
Was it Mr. Nix again?
Well, I just want to throw it out there.
He was in Viral too. He was Dante the Great, and we had a great laugh about that. Did you notice that? Doug?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a Mr. Nick's head, so I obviously was chomping at the bit.
This is completely off topic, but the guy who is in that movie as the Jonestown leader is the opposite to the Call It Friendo sequence in No Country for Old Men.
He's the gas station guy.
He's the gas station guy. How fucking crazy is that? right?
That's great.
And another thing, No Country for Old Men was the first movie he was in.
My God.
That's
Right?
crazy. He's also in a movie with the star of The House of the Devil, Last Stop in Yuma
Boom.
County. Underrated little Tarantino-esque riff.
The Jim Cummings movie, right?
Yes, he's in it, but it's more of an ensemble
Yeah.
than like the other actual like Jim Cummings, like the movies
Man.
he directs it, where he's like the guy.
Man, I just gotta say this because I feel like I haven't said this on mic anywhere before, but I just gotta say it. Jim Cummings is an amazing director. He's an amazing actor. But that most recent short that he did, where there was AI art in it, suck a dick, Jim Cummings.
I didn't know he did an AI
out of here.
thing. That's
he made a short film where he played like a struggling actor who was gay, and then like in the background there was just like posters that were made with AI, and it was like a big statement. And I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, you've lost the plot. This is not what I watched Thunder Road for. Like you just not get it.
So the use of the AI is supposed to be a statement, like that.
No,
That's
so the concept of it is like there's Marvel exists within this world, and like if I'm remembering it correctly, it's like the Chris Evans type couldn't show up to like this Make-A-Wish kids appointment. So he's like showing up to be like, oh, I'm so sorry they couldn't come, so I'm here to help you instead. And then like they go back home to their lover and they're crying about it. And like all throughout the film, there are these posters in the background that are supposed to be like Marvel posters, and every single one of them are made with AI.
okay, but if you're trying to channel the artificiality and how phoned in like the Marvels,
You're nailing it.
Like you can do an actual artist can do that.
You don't need AI for that.
And so some of those people, there's people online who do that shit for free. It's like the AI is like, I'm like, why are you paying for that? It's like, why would you want that?
We're on a completely different tangent, but this is just to also say like Jim Cummings do better, but also like separately,
Everyone
Cummings,
do better in terms of AI. Just
totally. I just wanted to say though, like he should do a found footage film. Jim Cummings found footage film. I think that, and
not even a horror one. It could just be one of his like incel-y men like run amok thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
do another Thunder Road and found footage. Like that would be great.
I'd watch it.
Yeah. All right. So, any final thoughts about Devil's Due?
Jim Cummings should have been the protagonist of this movie.
Lay off Zach.
Yeah, I'm kidding. This is a good movie. This is like we were talking about how this movie has like a 4.2 on IMDb. This should be like a 6.5 to 7. Like this is a really decent movie, and specifically within the found footage context, it's
good. Found footage is often underrated. Like if
totally.
Like a lot of the movies we've discussed, Tony, I'm like look those up. I'm like, what? You gave people give this a 5? Like what's going on here?
Yeah, like Butterfly Kisses is like super low as well, right? Like
yeah,
like this happens, right? Where the people who watch found footage, they're chasing the Paranormal Activity high.
But and they think it's all the devil inside. Like that. Exactly. That's what they're thinking it is. When it's like, okay, well, you're not even paying attention then if you think it's that.
They're just looking for the next best jump scare, right? And the thing about this movie is that it's actually pretty well directed, and like when it's locked in, it's locked in really well. The problem comes down to the script, and there are points where the script really nails it, but it falls apart at a certain point. But it builds up so much goodwill that this movie is an enjoyable watch, and I really would still recommend this movie to people. But it's not as strong as I had remembered it being. That's my general thoughts on this movie.
Yeah, I feel like if you're someone like me who doesn't like found footage, doesn't seek them out, it's not like obnoxious found footage. Like the most you'll be like, well, how is this compiled? And I see that's was a common criticism of the movie. Like, this doesn't make sense. How did they get the footage? But like, that's not something that the movie itself concerns itself with. That's not the point of the way it's
it doesn't even attempt to sell you on that. So I think that's fine.
It's just a hook, the way it looks. Other than that,
It's more honest about its presentation than most, where it's like
yeah.
most of them try to live in it so much more than others, and this one
Or,
just
or at
presents
least
it.
like have a text at the beginning of like this was found in the blah 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 recovered from here, and then that raises other questions. If you establish that, then you're like, well, okay, well then how, and then who put this together? Like, I mean, some found footage movies do address that, but you don't have to answer that question unless you set yourself up for it. And this movie does, smartly doesn't broach that.
It just kind of shows, like, like Elvis, you were talking about before, like it just cuts to these people who are in the woods, right? And like we've seen enough found footage films where like it can just do that, right? And we accept it, right? And that's good direction. Like
I mean, even in
it's like,
2014, people randomly having cameras is fine. Like, even if we weren't at everyone has the kind of iPhones now. I mean, everyone did have the smartphones were already around, so it's like you could explain pretty easily, like, or just people have cameras. You don't really need to like explain why a random person would be recording something.
totally, you're absolutely right.
All right. So, any last thoughts?
No,
All right. I think we got this pretty, this be a quick one for us. Maybe we should have done a third one.
I thought we were on time. Like 2 hours is usually how far we go with these ones. I thought. And you know
Yeah.
what? We haven't dug into Doug's thoughts on Kids vs. Aliens. If
Oh
we
yeah.
wanted to do a bit of that, actually.
I mean, if you want to talk about Kids vs. Aliens, I'm all for it.
I mean, I enjoyed it, and I think that I worked better for me than the short in the movie. Even though I liked the short, I just felt like I could have. I wanted more, and the movie delivered. That's me. I don't really have more than that, other than it pays off. It's the best example of taking one of these segments and expanding on it. I think that like this is the good version of that.
The only thing I'll fill you in on, and just in case you missed out on the conversation, right? Because I feel like there were a few things we drilled in on, right? And specifically for me personally, and Elvis, you can take it away after I say this for what you took away from it, right? But I felt like it was a really good inversion on like what you would expect from an Amblin film, right? And then also it was a really good, strong inversion of like the sibling thing, right? Like there was like the older sibling who has to kind of like come to terms with them having to like fucking step up and be better for their family, right? I felt all of that stuff actually works really well in terms of like writing and direction. But I don't want to like hog the spotlight. Elvis, Phil dug in on what you thought.
Well, my thought was that while I really enjoyed the short, it kind of like I was shocked when I found out I was a hobo shotgun guy because it felt like nothing like he's ever done. And this one was like, oh, so this feels like what that would have been like if, or my expectations of what that would have been like had I known he had done it before I watched that short. Like this feels like what what the expectations were fully met. So it's kind of strange to compare them because I love them both, but they're both like 180 degrees away from each other.
Yeah, I would agree. Stylistically, like this feels more in line with what you would expect from the hobo with a shotgun director.
Also, just really dark.
Sorry, go ahead.
Also, just really dark ending for no reason.
Yeah, but also like it feels in line with like the
short was pretty bleak. You end on a
yeah, but like
ring in the short.
But this was like more jokey, silly, campy, and this one's like that.
I want to drill into that because like it feels like the what's the name of the two metal dudes who are in Hobo with a Shotgun, like the guys who kind of like come into the film.
The Plague.
The Purge. No, the Plague. No, you're right. The Plague. It's the Plague.
Because they have the game based off them too. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like I feel like the ending of Kids vs. Aliens just turns into the Plague all of a sudden. and like it's such a giant leap, right? Where like I totally get what you're saying, Elvis, right? Where it's like it goes over the top in that sense, right? And it doesn't follow through on what it is, right? But then also like I really enjoy how bleak and brutal it is while still balancing the sentimentality of it all. I think that Kids vs. Aliens is like a really strongly directed film, not to echo what I was saying about
Yeah.
Devils Do. Like Jason Eisner's a really strong director, and I just want to see more movies by him. That's my
Like
big takeaway.
if I was to make a letterbox list of like the whole kids on bikes subgenre that we've gotten way too many from, like the all the way from Stranger Things to what was the one that JJ did?
Oh, Super 8, you're talking about.
Super 8, yeah. Yeah, Kids vs. Aliens be near the top. Like it's better. I mean, it's better than Stranger Things for sure, and it's better than a
Kids
lot of
vs.
things.
Aliens and it's Turbo Kids. Like I feel like those are the two big ones that are like good. You know what I mean?
There was another dark one. It was like Summer of something.
Oh, have you seen
Summer of
Super
80.
Dark Times?
Super Dark Times is good, but then also I
Summer
think
'68.
So
Summer of
that's a really good one.
84.
'84. That's what.
Yeah, I knew what you were talking about, Elvis. Like it was like 84, 85, right? Like it's
Yeah.
that movie.
It's an 8 in it. Yeah. Yeah, it was an 8 in it.
I like Super Dark Times a bit more than that movie, but I do also like that one as well.
I appreciate both. I think both of those are elevated in terms of the kids on bikes thing, not just being
A gimmick.
yeah, and not just nostalgia porn of like, oh, weren't these times great? This remember Ghostbusters?
Remember Monster Squad?
Yeah, because some of those are the point is like, no, it was actually bad.
I like that Kids vs. Aliens is like, here's this like rich family, right? That's just abandoned their kids, right? So like every time we were seeing like them doing these like massive wrestling techniques or sci-fi films, the undercurrent is that they're just these abandoned people trying to fill time, right? And you know, Jason Eisner, he always has that tinge of sentimentality with his films, and that's what my big takeaway with that movie.
Yeah, I agree. Good movie.
Yeah, good movie. Anyway, I think that couples it up for today. So I guess big question: what are we gonna look at tomorrow? I think we're out of like do we want to do 99 and another VHS after that, or 99 and
Okay.
Deadstream?
I've okay, so that's a great question, right? Because there were two things I was going to pitch, but I actually kind of like your pitch the best, Elvis, where we do Deadstream, right? I feel like that's the winning pitch in my eyes, right?
And Deadstream and 99 from because 99 is the one. Now that I remember that we've caught up, 99 is the only VHS I had seen previously. I just remember there is an actress overlap. Melanie Stone, I think, is in both. Like she has a segment in 99 and she's in Deadstream.
And also Deadstream shares directors. Like this is the one where like the To Hell and Back is also directed the same as Deadstream. Those are the same.
That's the segment that she's in. She's I forget the name of that character, but she's really good in it.
No, it's great segment. Great segment. Oh God, so good.
And Deadstream is an amazing movie. I'm down for
it's so fun, yeah.
There were two things I was going to suggest, right? And look, I'm not going to suggest these things to try to replace that because I think that's the winning segment already. But I'm just going to throw those out there just because I had these thoughts and I just want to throw them out there. Mm-hmm. I was going to say maybe let's do like back-to-back VHSs because like the new one's coming out soon and we can like catch up to it a bit sooner, right? There's that route we can go down. But then also, this was a left field one. I was going to suggest the Matthew Johnson found footage films to go like not found VHS, but to talk about something that's a bit like, different, like talk about the Dirties and Operation Avalanche. I am not, going to push for those,
I think those are ones worth of, I mean, yeah, I like Matt Johnson. I want to get through the VHS.
Yes,
yeah, definitely.
I will go where you guys want to go. I was going to bring those up independently of this, but I really like the Deadstream option. But I'm down to go wherever.
I would say either the double VHS or 99 in Deadstream. That would be my vote. Like whichever one of those is more appealing.
Well, yeah, I think definitely we go Deadstream. I think that we're on track to to catch up to Halloween by Halloween. So
Right,
that's
like
good.
This
I'm
is
fine
true.
if it's not like on the release. Like if we cover the new one, at
Do you want to
Halloween
do on
time.
Halloween because the Friday? Do you want to
Oh,
do it
is
on
it
I
Halloween?
don't
is
know. I don't
Halloween
know if
on
I
a
can.
Friday this year?
I don't know
Yeah.
if I can commit to that. I don't know if I can commit to doing Halloween
Yeah,
specifically.
not at this time. I just don't know my weekend what that weekend looks like. I know I'll
So,
be doing something at some point. I just don't know what day.
wait, would you want to do before Halloween or or November 2nd?
For me, like personally, like I will say that like this Sunday like recording times is perfect for me, right? But at the same time, like if we want to do something that try to like match with Halloween a bit more, like it'll come down more to like closer to the record time, for me. Because like Halloween, I may have got something going on. Who knows? I'm
R-
just saying like let's play a little more loose with that. You know what
All
I
right.
mean?
I'm kind of in the same boat where I could commit now more definitively to that Sunday, whereas if you were gonna try to do like an actual like Halloween stream, I would need to wait and see. Like I gotta check with some
All right.
people.
No problem. No problem. All right. We'll make sure because we're on track. Yeah, like there. So we have three more VHSs left, and we have Deadstream. So that's
Yeah.
four.
We've
We could
we've
like
come so far.
we could finish this up in like 2 weeks if we do
That
double up on
Yeah,
both.
I think we do double up the next week. I feel like if we do that, then it would be
And
like
then we're caught up. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. And,
Um.
and I'm having a blast. Like I feel like this whole run through of the VHS series, it's given me a new light on the series, but also at the same time, it's challenging the way I view found footage as a genre. So I'm liking it the way that it's going so far.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it too. But so I guess we're coming back next week. VHS 99, Turn of the Millennium, and what's it called? God,
Deadstream.
Deadstream. Tip of my tongue. So, what we're going to do is here. Let us pencil you in. Okay, tell us how we can find you, Tony.
Oh, we're gonna pull up the page. There it is. Now I'm used to it. I
I
got it.
love how much you are entertained by it every time.
Good old
Like it
Forrest.
always throws me off guard, because like very rarely are you faced with a mirror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
A black
but
mirror, if you will. It's like it's a screen looking back at you.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker's there. You know.
Yeah, you brought it back, Elvis. You brought it back. Yeah, you can find me at this page that you're seeing on your screen right now at poor old Rolo Tony on Twitter. You can also find me at In Films We Trust, where I'm going through the films of Larry Fessenden. Get ready, folks. We're going to be talking about Beneath very soon. One of my personal favorite Fessenden films, and one that is often unfairly maligned, similar to Devil's Due. So I think that many people should be tuning into that episode. And then also, I'm with Doug at These Guys Got Juice, where we're pumping out banger episode after banger episode. We just did one on one battle after another, and like that was a strong record. And I'm really excited for you guys to really listen to that. And I'm going to be doing an episode for 2 Cent Critics. We're doing an episode on Cabinet of Curiosities. Get ready for that. And then I'll also be doing an unbinged episode on the finale of the Mark Ruffalo show Task. Stay tuned, everybody. We got some stuff coming down the pipeline, but you guys take it away.
All
All
right.
right, so Doug, yeah, play us off.
Yeah, you can find me at the Doug Files on Twitter. That's also my YouTube, and like Tony alluded to, we've been cranking out some really strong episodes on These Guys Got Juice. Some like really quality found. If you want to watch actual good found footage movie, no, I'm just kidding. We've watched some good stuff here, but like the stuff we've watched for These Guys Got Juice, like Savage Land and Butterfly Kisses, are like that's like some of the best stuff ever for in my book. And yeah, that One Battle After Another episode will probably be going up tomorrow, so look out for that. Yeah, that's what I got.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and then anyone who joined. And always great to go through these films. I'm having a great time. In fact, Tony's giving us so much recommendations. Who knows? We might extend this to goddamn Christmas or something. Okay.
Oh man, Elvis, you put the time down. I'm there. I'm having a blast for personally. Like I don't want to speak for Doug. But like I'm always down. This is always a great time for me.
The found footage, ice polar cap going down here, iceberg. So
we are the historians. We will discover all of the best.
yeah. All right. Oh, thank you so much, and see you next week.
Bye.
Hell yeah.